The Swiss Family Robinson was written by Johann Weiss in 1812. This is a very, very long book about an unnamed Swiss family. They're stranded on an island after a shipwreck. They have a fairly easy, enjoyable time building lots of different shelters and exploring the island. They learn about all different kinds of plants and animals. After 10 years of life on the island, they're discovered and rescued. While this is a survival adventure book, it's also an educational book. The father is an expert in natural history, meaning he knows pretty much everything about plants and animals. He teaches them about every plant they encounter, explaining the plant's properties, how to best cultivate it, and what it can be used for. Similarly, he teaches them how to identify animals, how to care for them, or in most cases, how to fight them, how to kill them, how to prepare them as food, and what uses you can make for their various body parts. Education is prioritized over realism. In real life, penguins don't live in the same area as buffalo, which don't live in the same area as anacondas. In this book, all those species and dozens more coexist on the island. I think this works fine, and it definitely fits the author's goal to teach readers about dozens of different types of plants and animals. I'm sure there are some sticklers for accuracy who poo poo this book for its portrayal of plants and wildlife. The educational animal scene which really stuck out in my mind was the kangaroo one. They see a kangaroo, but they don't know what kind of animal it is. They examine its teeth and discover it has four sharp incisors, like a squirrel. That firmly places the creature in the rodent family. Ernest lists every type of rodent he can think of, which includes the jerboa, which is a type of jumping mouse. When Father hears the word jerboa, it triggers his memory, and he realizes this animal is a kangaroo, first discovered in New Holland, easily identified by its pouch. That seems pretty typical of the educational material in this book. If I'm ever stranded on an island, I wouldn't mind having a copy of this book as a guide to teach me how to make clothes and candles and shelter and so on out of pretty much nothing. That's the main point of the book. It's an educational how-to guide for island survival. I noticed that most people who don't like this book hate the educational aspect. They were disappointed because they expected the book to have a lot of story, whereas the book is more like reading about animals and plants from an encyclopedia. There are plenty of descriptions of things I've never heard of before, like the jerboa, and things which I'll probably never encounter outside of this book. I said the family is unnamed. We only know the names of the four children: Fritz, Ernst, Jack, and Franz. We don't know the names of anyone else, which I thought was weird. The father is the narrator. I kept waiting for him to say something like, "My name is William Zermatt," but he never does. The internet tells me the mother is named Elizabeth Zermatt. In my copy of the book, he's always calling her the mother or the woman. It actually took me a long time to realize the narrator is married to her. I think the book would have been equally interesting had one or two of the six people been strangers, unrelated to the others. The four boys are mostly the same, with minor differences among them. I had a hard time telling them apart. The story might have been better if there were only two boys, or if one of the boys was a girl. Since this book has been published dozens of times, you might want to check before picking up a copy. I got a particularly unwieldy translation from my local library. It had great illustrations, but you can tell it was roughly translated from another language over 100 years ago. Outside of an anaconda attack, there is never a sense of danger. There's no fear that someone will be injured or that they'll run out of food. They have an easy time surviving on the island because it's got so many useful plants and animals. There's also the shipwreck. The ship was intended to sustain a large colony for a long period of time. It has tons of supplies, far more than the family can possibly need or use. The start of the book makes it seem like time is limited, like the ship is going to sink fully in a matter of hours. In reality, it takes months for the ship to sink, so there's more than enough time for them to get everything useful off the ship and build ample store places for the supplies. The most well-known part of the book is them building a tree house out of a large mangrove tree, but it's actually the caves which serve as their permanent dwelling. They build at least 5 different homes in different locations. It's definitely more territory than they can handle. There are a few scenes where they revisit a place after several months' absence, only to discover some of the animals escaped, or monkeys attacked the dwelling, or the crops are overgrown. That's the risk you take when you only visit a place once a year. At some point, the family should have realized they've got too many places to take care of and they should have pulled back. In fact, my favorite moment of the book is when they bring an ostrich back to the house, and the mother complains they already have more animals than they can possibly handle. They don't need to keep one of every single animal they find. They do have numerous animals as pets, including a pair of dogs, a jackal, a buffalo, a bull, a donkey, a monkey, and an eagle. So that's like 10 different pets for 6 people. The animals they don't keep as pets get killed. I saw a lot of negative reviews which focus on the animal violence. This family kills way more animals than they need to. In fact, they have so many plants and good farming areas, they could survive for decades without hurting any animals. But that's not how the family operates. Whenever they find a new animal, they either make it a pet or kill it. I suppose that was the typical mindset when the book was written. In the final quarter of the book, the story jumps ahead 10 years to when the children are all adults and they're more independent. Fritz decides to take one of their many boats and go all the way around the island. I'm completely dumbfounded that no one thought of this for 10 years. I thought they would fully sail around the island within the first year. Fritz finds a note indicating there's an Englishwoman nearby. He goes to search for her. After a lot of waiting, the family decides to follow after him. Regrettably, this leads to a racist scene where both boats mistake the other one for a group of Malaysian pirates. I'm told the Disney movie of this book actually does include a group of pirates, presumably because the book is a little lacking in terms of characters and conflict. Like I said, the characters are really similar to each other, and they never face any real difficulties. Fritz finds the woman, who is named Jenny Montrose. She was shipwrecked here more recently, not 10 years ago. A British ship comes in search of her, and the family's able to get its attention. Jenny and the 2 older sons take the ship back to Europe, where they alert the authorities and begin the process of making the island an official British colony, named New Switzerland. I'm not sure why the island is a British colony when the Swiss family was here long before the British were. The book ends here, as the father gives up his journal so it can be taken to Europe and shared with the people there. That is a quick summary of the book. It's an extremely lengthy book to the point where it could easily be split up into 3 different books. The book is interesting and educational, but I wish there was a bit more conflict to the story. Things go pretty much perfectly for the Swiss family. I have a hard time believing things would have been better for them if they had reached their original destination, wherever that is. It's just a perfect life for them on this island. I can see why people think it's a good book, and I know some people who would love this book like no tomorrow. I wish I had gotten a better translation, or maybe a condensed version, because I feel like I could have liked it more than I do. The book is definitely more oriented towards younger readers than adults. It's not the best survival book I've ever read. I would recommend The Boxcar Children or Island of the Blue Dolphins as similar, better books in this genre. I give The Swiss Family Robinson 3 stars out of 5.